Mark. Um, so hopefully you'll be able to get started with this course, and we can give you some ideas and some techniques that will help you like further it more and more, and make you fairly confident that you can rip out a good solo when you need to. Um, so that'll involve a little bit of theory learning, and it'll involve some physical ukulele playing stuff as well. In terms of you'll have to learn a couple new things about new notes, new scales, all that. Um, so yeah, it'll hopefully be a fun journey. um, so the other thing that makes this easy for you is you can see the basic lesson plan on the website too. That's what I'm looking at as well. Learn to improvise using the pentatonic scales. Oh, Phoebe's back. Um, so basically, when you're starting to improvise, you are going to be using scales to figure out which notes you want to play to make stuff sound good. Um, and some of you have probably learnt some scales before at Orchestra. Obviously, we do the C major scale pretty regularly. Um, yeah, basically scales are the building blocks for melody, and improvisation is just coming up with melodies on the spot. To uh, That's sort of the skill of it, is to be able to make it up. Um, and so obviously you need those building blocks first. So we're going to do a little bit of work on these simple scales, so that you have a starting point. Now, obviously, I assume most of you probably already know the C major scale, uh, just by just by being around orchestras. But we're not going to start with the C major scale because that's actually a little bit trickier to use. Uh, the C major scale has a younger cousin basically, which lends itself to soloing and improvising a lot more, which is the pentatonic scale. Does anybody know what a pentatonic scale is?
I think it might be the older cousin.
You're probably right, Mark, in a sense. Did anyone have an
Five
answer for that?
tones.
It's only
Yeah, yeah, very true. Only five tones, which makes it easier for us. Penta obviously means five, and when we have less tones, mind explosion there, Pip. um, yeah, when you only have five tones to worry about, it actually kind of makes it easier to solo. The one, but when you have too much going on, you're kind of spoiled for choice. So it can be hard to choose exactly what you want to do in that moment. But the other main benefit of the pentatonic scale is it is basically a major scale. The major pentatonic is a major scale, obviously. It's pretty much identical to your normal, 8 tone or 7 tone major scale, but it takes out the notes that are going to cause you grief when you solo. Because not every note is going to sound good all the time, but there are some in the normal major scale that are generally not as easy to use. And so the pentatonic scale gets rid of those notes. In the C, it's the F and the B note, or the fourth degree and the seventh degree of the scale. And so once those notes are out of your hair, you can pretty comfortably play any note in a pentatonic scale over any chord in C major, and you can be pretty sure that it's going to sound okay. So that's why we start off with the pentatonic scale. So with that in mind, let's pull out our ukes and let's just go through the pentatonic scale to start with. I've got to admit, I'm really cold in my room right now.
Does everybody have the sheet, the necessary sheet for the
you got to show it to me.
So it's which one?
Oh yeah, if you've got it there, Mark, that'd be good. Yeah, bear in mind, pretty much all the stuff we're talking about we have a sheet for. So if me telling you how to do it isn't enough, then you have something to look at as well. So yeah,
These
there
one,
should be a
these
yeah, the
ones
scales
here.
for ukulele sheet.
Yeah, and the second one I think is the major pentatonic.
C major pentatonic.
There's a C major,
Easily
and that,
confused with the minor pentatonic, so don't do that one. Just major pentatonic for now. Okay. And we're also starting in C because the ukulele is a C instrument. It really lends itself to it because the open strings are pretty much a C chord with one extra note. Okay, so one note at a time. We start with our open C string. Put our second finger on the second fret for the D note. Then open E. This is the first note we skip from the major scale. You go straight to the third fret for G. Then the next string, open A. And then you skip the B straight up to the third fret again for C. So the whole shape goes 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 3. Okay? If
apparently, John, I've been getting emails and messages today. The recording studio is replaying on ABC at the moment. The
oh,
show that
is
we
that
did.
right?
Yes, and the recording studio is a one of those what are they called, reality TV crap things that we starred in with the orchestra, and we did My Girl, the song My Girl, and My Girl is, if you think about the riff from My Girl, that's the pentatonic scale. So can you play that, John? Could you just play, at risk of personal trauma? Could you play the riff from My Girl, please?
Totally. Yeah, you can really hear it even when you play the pentatonic scale without any particular rhythm. You can hear My Girl, but as soon as you put the rhythm in, you can really hear that. I got sunshine. Yeah. On and on.
So
So yeah,
you immediately know what it's supposed to sound like because you know the song.
absolutely. Um, so yeah, that's the little introduction to the pentatonic scale. And in fact, let's just do that. We'll do that as a little example. I'll play some chords for you, and maybe a bit of that riff, and you just have a go at doing that in the rhythm of My Girl. Okay, ready? 1, 2, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bum, 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 whoops.
Can I ask a few people, like Phoebe, if you can just lift the head of your ukulele a bit more? Um, uh, Susie, I was going to ask you, but you've got two things on here. Um, the finger to fret rule, John. I looking at Vanessa and thinking Vanessa's not really using the finger to fret rule. She was using the first finger. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what Erica's doing over there. Maybe she has a different rules in England, but yeah.
They have
So
headless links in England.
maybe you should talk about the finger, like which fingers you're supposed to use. I don't think you said that.
Yes, don't worry. It was on the agenda. Um, yeah, so as Mark mentioned, some people are sort of defaulting to the first finger, it is a really good idea if you can to utilize the finger to fret rule, which at its core, and it gets developed from here, but at its core is first finger to first fret, second finger to second fret, third to third, fourth to fourth. No matter where you are, what string you're on. When I do the pentatonic scale, I go. I always use those particular fingers to do that scale. And the rules are bendable, but it's mainly to make sure that you don't use a finger that's going to be inefficient. Hi, Ruth. Yeah, it's mainly to stop you from being inefficient, because if you go, e.g., third finger here, and then want to go first finger over there, that's just so much extra movement that you don't need. If you can keep it linear like that, it makes moving around the ukulele a whole lot easier. So while we're in the key of C, let's actually do an improvisation, which I know is kind of jumping into it, but I kind of think that's the best way to do it, is to just do it in a sense. We're gonna do 4 strong winds, so you can pull up the sheet for that if you have it. You don't really need the chords though, because you're only gonna be playing from the C pentatonic scale. And bear in mind, you're not going to be playing the C pentatonic scale just note for note. I want you to pull random notes of your choice out of the scale to play. So don't feel like you have to go, up and down the whole time. I want you to use, just any note you like out of that scale. And you'll find that pretty much all of them sound passable over whatever chord we play in the background. Does anyone have any questions before we jump into it? None from Coxie. Excellent. Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to share my screen so that you can hear the backing track. And yeah, then just have a go at improvising. And then I'll get you to report back to me about any findings you might have had when you come back. So I'm sharing my screen. 4 strong winds.
A 1, a 2.
Can everybody hear that?
2, 3, 4.
Once I mute, it'll be a little bit easier as well. Okay, I'm going silent. Off you go.
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'll go out to Alberta, weather's good there in the fall. Got some friends that I can go working for. Still I wish you'd change your mind if I ask you one more time. But we've been through this 100 times or more. 4 strong winds that blow lonely, 7 seas that run high. All those things that don't change, come what may. If the good times are all gone, then I'm bound for moving on. I'll look for you if I'm ever back this way. seas that run high, all those things that don't change, come what may. If the good times are all gone, then I'm bound for moving on. I'll look for you if I'm ever back this way. I'll look for you if I'm ever back this way.
Hey Ruth, could you lift the head of your ukulele up, please, so we can see it a bit more? Yeah. Oh, you've got an 8 string. Um, put it back down. No, it's all right.
No, that's lovely. All right.
No,
How'd
leave
that
it up,
go,
Ruth.
everybody? How'd it go, everybody? Anyone have a positive experience? Yeah.
Do you just add on at the end of every line, like think I'll go out to Alberta and then you just improvise there? Or can you sort of go in the middle of the sentence?
That's a really good question, Deirdre. Yeah, so normally as a soloist, it's a lot more tasteful if you don't interrupt the singer. So it's something to consider. The singer has an ego on them all the time, obviously. So they get very antsy if you try and play music over the top of them. But for now, you don't need to worry about it too much. It's obviously good practice, but while you're learning to solo, don't feel like you have to restrict yourself just to the gaps as much, unless you want to, unless that's what you're trying to practice.
I found it easier to manage to get into a groove in the instrumental and in the gaps, and I think I was distracted by the voice, and I didn't feel like I hit, like things didn't sound quite so right. But when you got into the instrumental, it sort of seemed to flow a little bit better for me.
Well, that's fair enough. It can get clashy when there's two melodies playing over the top of each other, especially because the singer isn't sticking to the pentatonic scale. They have extra notes that they throw in that might not work so well. So yeah, that is a really good point. Anyone else have anything about that?
I was just doing da 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 da. It sounded okay. I was really surprised.
It's kind of cool, isn't it? Like, it's really not that hard to make even something passable just come out once you know the building blocks, which I guess is sort of the main lesson here, is that yeah, it's quite the easy part is getting a nice sound out to start with, in a sense, and then the hard part is adding in all these extra techniques and new scales and new keys to flesh it out and make it more interesting. So yeah, nice work, everybody.
John, when we didn't talk about this before, when do you want to do breakout rooms? When do you think? Have you?
Yes, I was trying to think of that on the fly, but I haven't thought of it yet.
That's okay. Go on to your next section. I'll have a think about it.
Yeah, I was thinking potentially when we do feel, might be good to break out on the feel bit.
The boss is telling me that that's a good idea. Yeah.
Excellent.
John?
Yes, Lee.
Lee. Yeah, so I didn't have a question until Deirdre asked that. Now I'm wondering then, because I improvised all the way through, clashing with the singer here and there. So what am I supposed to do while the singer's singing? Just play the chords?
If you're the soloist, usually you don't need to play the chords because there'll be someone else doing it. So in the gaps where you're not soloing, just get prepared for the next bit of soloing you're gonna do, because there's always gonna be gaps in the melody. Like, think I'll go out to Alberta, where there's good there in the fall. I got some friends that I could go working for. You know, there's always going to be those gaps coming up, and you don't have to fill every single one. But yeah, you want to consider that like interplay between the melody and the and the soloing, and yeah, it's good not to distract yourself with chords if you give yourself the mental space to just be ready for what comes next.
A gentleman can solo, but a solo. No. I was going to say, it's good to know if you can do it. Doesn't mean you should. So if you can solo, you shouldn't always solo. You know, have a rest.
It's true. In fact, while we're at the very first lesson, I might as well tell you that sometimes it's the gaps in the solo, it's the bits where you don't play that are really the most important bit. You almost want to think of your solos like a singer singing a melody, and a singer has to breathe in between phrases. So yeah, when you solo, you want to give your solo room to breathe in a sense, and think of it as opposed to just this long string of notes. Think of it as little phrases with breaths in between. Yeah, that's a fun little tip for you. All right, so
But we're just
yeah,
supposed to
next-
be practicing all the time, aren't we? For now?
Pretty much. If you can practice all the time, I mean, and no one can physically do that all the time, but as much as you can is if you've got a backing track or someone else who can play a uke for you while you solo over the top, like any practice for this is good, because you'll always be learning new things or practicing old things. So but I mean, that's a good rule for any any skill, I think. Okay, so the next section we're gonna talk about is diatonic songs. Okay, does anyone know what it means for a song to be diatonic?
It's when you drink fizzy drinks without sugar.
That's it. You got it.
It's in the one key. It doesn't change key in the song. Is that it?
That's it. Yeah. So a diatonic song is one where all the chords fit within the one key. And those are your friends. Diatonic songs are the ones you like. Yes, Mark's holding up a circle of fifths, and we will talk about the circle of fifths soon. Yeah, so diatonic songs are the ones that are really friendly to you because you can just use the one scale. You don't have to branch out. But sometimes it can be hard to tell if a song is actually diatonic or not. And so that's sort of a trick you want to learn to make sure that it's okay for you to use just a pentatonic scale over every single chord. And with practice, that just becomes an instantaneous thing. You can start to just see it, and it gets really easy to recognize. But while you're learning, there are a couple of things you can do to help you with that. So I'll talk about some techniques. I think a good thing to open up now would probably be On Melancholy Hill, if we can do that. So if you can open up the chord sheet for On Melancholy Hill. So, oh, and also if you have your circle of fifths there, that's a good thing to pull out too. Because both of those are going to be helpful for you. So, On Melancholy Hill is not in C, is it? It doesn't have any C chords in it. A good first step is trying to figure out what the key of a song is in general, because
Do you want me to share my screen? I'll share the, and then you can, when you're talking, I will point to the circle of fifths bit.
Oh, I can always just share the screen to do that, so then people can see my cursor. So yeah, sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Melancholy Hill is not in the key of C, it's in the key of D, and there are a couple of ways you can tell that. The easiest way to tell is just by trusting your ear. So you can play through all of the chords in this song. Obviously it starts on D, F sharp minor, B minor, G, A, G, A. You'll know a song is in a certain key if it feels like the song is done when you play that chord. So if I play if I'm playing along with this song, if I finish on A, it kind of feels like there's something missing. But as soon as I go to D, suddenly the tension is relieved. That's sort of how you can tell. If you can hear when the song feels finished, that's sort of the quick hand way to tell if you've got a uke with you. So this song's in the key of D. Another quick way to do it is normally the last chord of a song will be the key of the song, because people like to finish on a chord that is stable and makes you feel resolved. This song is a bad example of that, unfortunately, because it ends on an F chord, which is completely out of nowhere. But yeah, normally, as a general rule, songs like to end on the key, end on the chord that they're in the key of. Sometimes it gets more complicated, which is where the circle of fifths comes into it. If you look at your circle of fifths and you go to the section of the pie that is a D, that's got the big letter D in it, you can think of each of these sections of the pie as a different key. And one way for you to figure out if you're in a certain key is because all of the chords that like to hang out together, that like to be in a certain key, tend to be really close to each other in the circle of fifths. So if you look at the D section of the pie, you can see that next to it is G and on the other side is A. And if you look at on Melancholy Hill, you can see that both of those chords are in this song as well. And in fact, if you go down closer to the middle of the pie, you can see B minor there in the D section and F sharp minor there as well. And they're both in the song too. So all of these chords are diatonic to the key of D. It's all contained within this little section of the pie. Am I sort of making sense, or am I going a bit too far right now? Everyone's pretty okay so far.
Did you use Did you use the term relative minor?
Not yet.
Not yet. I'm not going to talk about that yet.
Oh, I just thought that you mentioned those chords in the middle. That's all.
I understand relative minor, but I don't. I'm trying to get a handle on this. Are we supposed to walk around with a circle of fifths with us all the time when are we supposed to memorize this?
No, you don't have to memorize it. Once you are exposed to the keys of songs regularly, it starts to become more obvious, like what key a certain song is in. But for the most part, you can just rely on the shorthand way. You can look at the last chord of a song, and usually that's right, or you can play the different chords, and when you feel like you're on the chord that is the end of the song, then that's usually a pretty reliable way to do it. The circle of fifths is if you want to understand it even more.
It's like if you want to carry a dictionary around in your handbag, Lee. Yeah, I don't. You know.
That's true. It's quite a good analogy, actually. But yeah, so while we're here, actually, it's probably quickly worth mentioning that although this song is almost entirely diatonic, it's just not because of that F chord. So you can see that that F isn't within that little quadrant. So technically that makes this song non-diatonic. But because it's just one chord at the very end of the song, it really doesn't matter. You can still solo in this song in a diatonic way. And we're going to have a go at soloing on this one. But our C pentatonic scale is not going to work. We're going to have to do the D major pentatonic scale because we're in the key of D. So if you can pull out your other sheet of scales, you should have a D scale sheet as well. And this is the second one down, the D major pentatonic scale. And although C major is the easiest, I think it's probably the least useful scale to you. It's great for the key of C, not so good for anything else. This shape you're about to learn, the D major scale, it opens up the entire neck of the ukulele to you and opens you up to pretty much any key you want to play in. But we'll learn it first, and we'll do some soloing in D, and then we'll talk about all this other fancy stuff you can do. So yeah, we'll go note by note. I'm gonna call out finger numbers instead of fret numbers to you. So but I want your first finger to be on the second fret. So when I say first finger, what I really mean is second fret. And this helps you solidify the finger to fret rule too. So first finger, second fret. Third finger is fourth fret. Fourth finger is fifth fret. It's a bit confusing right now, but it will make sense later.
And it is written on your D major scale as well. You've got the letters D, E, F sharp. You've got the music notation, but underneath the letters you've got finger, 1, 2, 3, etc. 1, 3, 1, 2, 4. And then the tab, and then the tab underneath that, which is the fret number.
Nice. All right. So first note, first finger. And remember, this is the second fret we're starting on. Then you go third finger. Remember, fourth fret. And we're going to the next string, first finger, which is second fret. Then up to fourth finger. Next string, first finger. And up to fourth finger. And you can go back down as well. First finger. That's pinky. First finger again. Third finger. And first finger to finish. Okay, so I want you to try and remember that pattern more than anything else. Don't think about the fret numbers too much, just think about the pattern of 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4. Because that's what's most important at the moment. Okay, let's do Melancholy Hill. You can solo using that D major pentatonic scale. I'll share my screen again. And, oh god, yeah, that's better. That can go away.
Does everybody understands this? I could see that quite a few people were screaming ahead, which meant that there's a lot of understanding from previous lessons. But if you don't understand this stuff, you really need to raise your voice now.
That's right, yeah. Don't be afraid to speak up. because obviously, it's our job to help you understand that. So, if I'm not making sense, or if there's something you've just missed, I mean, either ask me now, or even just look back on the recording once that's out too, and have another watch through, and a second watch might even make it a bit easier. All right, have a go. D major pentatonic scale on Melancholy Hill.
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, and. Up on Melancholy Hill, there's a plastic tree. Are you here with me? Just looking out on the day of another dream. So call in the submarines, around the world we'll go. Does anybody know love? We're looking out on the day of another dream.
All right. How did that one go? Did that one work out okay for you? Yeah, excellent. Some a little iffy, and that's okay. It's all new experiences and stuff. Anything? Anyone want to vocalize? Any thoughts or feelings?
I think it's easier when you know the song.
That's true. I think having an idea of the song can help a lot, and that is true. But remember as well that it's something that you're making up, and so a lot of the time you don't have to necessarily know the song. As long as you know the key, then that can be enough. But yes, it does help to know the song too.
As a trumpet player, if I'm jamming in a band, I'll just go, what's the key? Or I'll look at the guitarist and go, oh, it's in E. Okay, I can see that all those chords. But then I will wait for a cycle of the song to go round, which is often the vocal, and maybe just jam a little bit quietly in the background so I get the feel of the song. And then when it comes to a break, I know what I'm doing, Vanessa. Deirdre, are you playing a ukulele? You're not playing a guitar?
It's a guitar-lele.
It's a ukulele, yeah. It's got 6 strings, so it looks like a guitar, but it is a uke.
Right. Is that what's causing you confusion, though? Is it?
No, do I look? No, I'm not
No,
confused.
you just said you're a bit like that. That's all.
Oh, that was because of the beat.
Oh,
I
okay.
found the beat hard to improvise to. It wasn't as swingy.
I think that's fair enough, actually. I think as humans, this is a theory, but I think it's true. I think as humans, we naturally lean towards a swung rhythm more than a straight one. There's just something about the way people strum that is almost always. You very rarely see someone go first. You hear them go. That little skip in the rhythm. There's just something about it that people lean towards. But yeah, good practice to have some swung stuff and some straight stuff, because you'll be exposed to both, and you'll have to do both. Now, here's another really important lesson. Oh yes, sorry, Di. Yes.
No, I was just going to say that's an example of less is more in comparison to that My Girl, isn't it? in some ways. Leaving some gaps made it easier to play with it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think yeah, leaving gaps and giving yourself a chance to listen can really lend itself towards being able to you get to hear melodies that you can be inspired by, like from the song, and you start to learn where the gaps are and stuff, and get a feeling for it. So, good point. Um, Did anyone else have any questions or comments before we move on to the next bit? Ruth.
I confess I'm struggling. So can you tell me in the menu when you've got the C and D solo next to the sheet music? Because I can't even hear what it is that I'm trying to play. Like I'm just plucking away like a dumbass on the strings here. Like if I can hear the way it sounds, I can learn like that. Is that little recording?
Ruth, you came in a bit late, and so you might have missed the intro. That might have made more sense. So you'll get a copy of the recording, and you can probably go back over that. I think that might be your gap in knowledge.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. No, don't feel like you have to apologize. It's yeah, I guess the real trick is you're using the scales. In this case, we're using the pentatonic scales, the major pentatonic scales, and we're just picking random notes out of it in order to make a solo. So this part of it, for me with soloing, this was like a big breakthrough aha moment, and some of you probably already know this to some extent, but this is one of the real tricks to be a versatile soloist. There are probably plenty of people who can plunk along in C or maybe even in D, but the real trick is learning to play in lots and lots of different keys. And if you're on piano, that would be very hard. You'd have to learn a different shape for every single key. But the real benefit of all fretted stringed instruments, and unfretted actually to an extent, is that all of your scale shapes are movable. So the shape doesn't change, but when you slide it up and down the ukulele in different positions, you get different keys. So if you know how to play a D scale, a D major scale, or D major pentatonic scale, where all the strings are covered by each note, you can slide that up one fret and play exactly the same thing, just starting on a new fret, and suddenly that's a D sharp major pentatonic scale. And you can slide it up again and it's an E major pentatonic scale, and you slide it up again and it's an F major pentatonic scale. It's all exactly the same shape, just in a new place. So that's something really important to remember, so that if ever you're given a difficult key, you don't have to know every single note of this key. You only need to know the starting note on the C string so that you can figure out where you start, and then you just need to know that the right scale shape to use for the key. Which, if it's a major song, a song in a major key, then it's usually the major scale or the major pentatonic scale. So yeah, bear that in mind, everybody. We're gonna go on to Pokari Kariana.
John, just before you do, quick question.
Yeah.
Given
Yes.
if you've got those, you're really only using those bottom three strings, and you mentioned your frets and your fingers on there, would you then use your thumb and your first and second finger for the strings, or have you got a recommendation for that as well?
Yeah, so this hand is often neglected, I have to admit, in learning this stuff. So that is a good question. I naturally lean towards, I just use my thumb on all of them. That does restrict your speed a little bit, obviously, because you can only go as fast as you can pluck, and then after that you can only go as fast as you can hammer on and pull off. But yeah, naturally for uke, I lean towards just my thumb, because it's the strongest finger. I think it gets the best sound. But some people prefer to finger pick stuff like that. And I often incorporate my index finger as well to some extent if I feel it'll help me like go faster or something. So there's no really right answer, but my recommendation is the thumb.
John, with
And-
the sorry,
Oh yes, Jess.
with the first finger, because in D you're looking at like first finger on second fret for each. Could you leave that first finger down, or is that not a habit to get into?
Do you mean leave it down as in like across the
As in like,
strings?
yeah.
That is not a bad habit, and it's actually a good one when you start, because it means that if ever you like miss a note, then you'll still, if that's being held down the whole time, if you accidentally miss a note higher up, it'll just land on a note that's already in the key. So yeah, it's not a bad habit to get into. It's not what I do personally, but it's it's not a bad thing at all. I think it's definitely a good place to start, because it really solidifies that idea as well, that it's really just a shape that you're moving around. You know, whenever I mean, a really good way to look at it is that this finger up here, or even if you're just putting single fingers down, whenever you move this shape around, it's like you're taking the nut of the ukulele and moving it into a new place. You're kind of just playing the C major pentatonic scale all over the ukulele, where your first finger acts as the open string, and then these other fingers just go and play their thing. But don't read too much into that, because that could have come off as a bit confusing in a sense. But yeah. So let's if everyone is all good, let's go to Pokari Karyana, and we're going to be soloing. Actually, someone tell me what key we're about to solo in Pokari Karyana.
Looks like an F to me.
Yeah, that sounds about right. How'd you figure that out?
Starts and ends in F.
Very good. Ends on an F chord. You could play through all these chords. You could play through all of them, but only when you get to an F chord does it feel like the song is finished. Can someone tell me if they think this song is diatonic or not? Anyone have any ideas about this one? Yes, diatonic, no? It is pretty much diatonic, yeah. It is, if you look at your circle of fifths, you can see that it's got an F, it's got a B flat, it's got a C or a C7. B flat and C are both right next to F on the circle of fifths. There is one little thing, and it's an optional thing that would make it non-diatonic, which is in the intro. It's a very pretty part. It's the bit where it goes, you go to F, and then B flat, and then you go to B flat minor 6, which I love, but it's non-diatonic. So for the most part, this song is completely diatonic. Yes, you are right. That B flat minor 6 just ruins everything. But because it's like an optional intro, I'm not gonna fault anyone for that. Okay, so we're in the key of F. What fret does that mean we want to start our scale on? Yeah, Coxie's got the 5 fingers. Yep, everyone's got 5 fingers. That's it, up on the 5th fret of the C string. And the way to count that up is, if I start on C, you go C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and there's no such thing as E sharp, so you go straight to F. And from there, this is exactly why I told you to use finger numbers instead of fret numbers. So, because if you use the finger numbers, this shape is movable. You can think of it as a 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4, as opposed to trying to figure out the frets instead. So it's all about that shape, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4. all that stuff. Okay, so in the key of F, we'll play along to this one. I haven't heard the backing track for this one yet because Jane put it up today, so we'll see how that all goes. I'll share my screen. Just gotta wait for that to move away.
Hey Ruth,
That's
could
how
you
it
lift
goes.
up the head of your uke again, just so I can see? Yeah, just so I can see where you are and just follow you along a bit.
All right. Can everyone hear that? Okay. Yeah, got some nodding. Excellent. Let me mute myself and have at it, you lot. And don't forget as well. Remember what I said about like trying to make it melodic, trying to treat it like a singer. You know, you've got all these notes to work with, but you don't want it to end up being just a hodgepodge of everything all at once. A lot of the best solos are ones with lots of space to move around. So yeah, leave it room to breathe. Here we go.
Welcome to the elevator, John.
I was not expecting Pokari Kariana, which is a traditional, Polynesian song, to turn into
Later in the
insane
80s, no
elevator
less.
music. They
Yes.
must have limited options for that sort of style in iReal Pro.
But Vanessa's comment about it's better when you know the song. We didn't really know, if you didn't know the song very well, there was no hint of what the melody was to give you some context. I wonder if you could have sung along with it, John. That might have helped too.
Maybe, or it might have cut it out as well, which
A
is
little
fine.
bit, right? Yeah. Anyhow,
In a sense, maybe,
I liked
maybe,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, it worked well.
It is kind of nice. It's good practice too. This is not only a different feel, but a different time signature, and so obviously that's going to affect how you solo as well. Speaking of that, does anyone have any comments? How did it go? General okay or not okay?
I just think I made up my own song then.
Hey, well, that's honestly really good. That's pretty much if you can come up with a song on the fly, that's kind of what improvising is. You want it to be something that people would enjoy listening to. And this one's nice too because it doesn't have any singing to get in the way. So even though you lose that aspect where you can take inspiration from the melody, it just gives you free reign to do whatever you like over this. So anyone else? How did other people go?
I found myself kind of incorporating the bits of the melody that I could remember. Just, yeah.
That's a really good idea, Jess. I don't know if we do this. I don't know if we do it later in the course, but I know in most of our courses there's whole sections on incorporating melodies from songs into your solos because they are an excellent source of inspiration. If you can learn the melody to a song, be it on an instrument or like the singing part, if you just learn that on your instrument, if you can steal bits from that, and it's not plagiarism because it's improvisation. It doesn't count as plagiarism then, because you just borrow the bits you like and you can make it work.
John, we've got 20 minutes to go, and you want to do a bit of feel or something, don't we? And we want to do some breakout on that, and Jane was going to do some breakout as well, I think.
Oh, good, yes. Well, let's get on to that. Thanks for letting me know, because my brain was telling me we had until 8:30.
No, we started at 6:30, so we finished at 8. Yes.
So yeah, we're gonna use the breakout rooms to have some closer discussions, I guess. In particular about feel, which is a very abstract topic, but there's a few things to consider with feel. So we're gonna all have a chat about that. So are you making the breakout rooms or shall I?
Yes, I will. I might just assign automatically, shall I?
think so too,
Just
actually.
automatically.
Yeah.
So, no. Well, we want some people not to go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's the trap you run
The
into.
automatic one's no good.
Yeah.
I'll just assign them. I'll assign them manually, John. And
Get in.
one's called Jane.
So we'll try and limit this to about 10 minutes, and then we'll be able to finish up with a bit more of a deep dive on the a 10-minute deep dive on the circle of fifths, just so you get a little bit more clarity on like what it's actually for.
So what are we planning on doing here, John?
We're just gonna. My plan was to have a bit of a discussion about what are like the elements of feel and what we need to consider when we play to play with feel.
Okay. Yep. So what do we got? That'll about do it, I think. Jane, have you logged in? Oh, you're doing that now.
Sorry.
So Jane will be joining a group. Go ahead and join your groups. People who have not been allocated a group, you are generally the people whose names are in the letters P to T. You're just with me, staying with me.
All right, everyone join your groups.
And Jane, you go to the Jane group, obviously. Good. Can you just shut that door?
Hey, Mark, you might have to assign me to the group, love.
Okay. Where are you? Oh, there you are. Jane assigned to Jane. Got it! All right. You guys can all unmute if you would like to. And maybe I should stick my headphones in. Where have they gone? How are we going with it? Ruth, you caught up, did you?
I'm pretty shaky.
You'll be right. You'll be right. It is probably all about the first 10 minutes. So that gets rid of my echo. We're talking about feel, and let's do the F major pentatonic You guys can hear me okay, can't you? Yeah. Let's just use the F major pentatonic. I think this is what John was going to do. So,
So can I just? I'm struggling to find where that's on a piece of paper.
okay. Yep. That's. Yep. So, yeah. Peter, it's on the website. If you go into, see, it says repertoire for every week. Please print these out and have them ready for every week.
Yep.
And in the middle of that, the longest name is Chromatic Notes on the Ukulele.
Okay, thanks.
Right?
Yep.
So that.
Put it in the chat.
Oh, thank you. No, it's not the scales. It's not the scales.
Right,
Oh, have I been playing the wrong thing all along?
So Peter, it's the same as the D pentatonic, but you're starting on the 5th fret of the C string. The fingering's the same. So if you got the D pentatonic, it's the same, but starting on the 5th fret of the C string. Is that right, Mark?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I've been doing, the D pentatonic.
Yeah, but you do it on the 5th fret.
Yeah.
5th fret. So.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm not muted.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Phoebe. That's right, Peter. So you've got that on the 5th fret, but you're not using your little finger.
Yep.
This is.
Yep.
Any other questions around this? Ruth, you've got it. I can see that your fingers are in the right spot. So this is about feel, I'm pretty sure that we're talking about. What do you think of the elements in feel that we could do?
Like what the sort of rhythm of the song is, and whether it's like a waltz or whether it's a, what sort of drum there is for it.
And so what does that mean for what you would play?
Slow or fast, or the gaps in the between the notes, or if there's if it's crescendoing, you might go up the fret a bit.
Yeah. And when you said 3/4, it really made me feel like that. And it is literally almost an expression of what you're feeling from it. So you might want to be da da da, like in terms of timing of it. What other elements, particularly when you think about the mechanics of this instrument, of a string? Yeah, Ruth?
Zedding and strumming, so like getting different sounds out of your strings.
Yep. And that's a good point. That is probably getting down to more advanced stuff. Where when you use muting, if we want to give it a bit more of a proper name, let's just do everybody do this. Everybody do the 5th fret, so of the C string. And see how I'm giving the string a bit of a wobble. This is if everybody go, like, you can go like this. Just let me do it first. There's one note, but here's the same note, but I've put a little bit more sort of feel into it by giving it a bit of a wobble. Or I can go back. Can you hear a different sort of life in the note? Yeah. So there's two different techniques there. Right, so this, when I go like this, no, I'm just going to go like that. It's almost like I've got Parkinson's. I'm actually not pushing this. It's different to doing that. I'm just going backwards and forwards, and it's a vibrato. It's actually vibrato, but on this instrument, it's called a tremolo. And generally, when you do a solo, that is what's going to give you a sense of feel. It's going to give each individual note more life. And you can even do it. It's like playing with commitment. You can even do it when you are playing short notes. So, does that make sense? So that's tremolo or vibrato. Now, if you do it you can do it this way, but it's much bigger. and it's called a bend, really. So if you're going like this, you can hear that. Give that a go.
Sounds very Japanese.
Well, actually, the pentatonic is quite like when I first did it with kids, particularly starting on the G string. It's got quite a Japanesey, Chinesey sort of, and that's because the pentatonic scale is quite universal, but as across the world. Now, if we're here, if we give that a really big bend, we can actually increase the note almost by a tone, probably. So we don't really want to do that's not feel, that's more going into a slightly different territory. I'm not 100% sure if this is the spot for it, but another way to give some sort of feel is to put a slide into it. So if I want to play this note on the 5th fret, I can slide into it. You're the loudest, Trish. That's good.
Would you do that, Mark, within the pentatonic or outside of it?
You could hear John do it. So so it starts to mean actually as well. Yeah. It starts to mean that you the finger to fret rule that we were talking about, and so rules are made to be broken. You start to break out of that. You start to break out of the finger to fret rule. You need the finger to fret rule to start things off, to commence it, but so you know where you are and you know what it sounds like. But and then you've got to figure out how you get your fingers into it. And then so there's a slide into it. And then there's a slide out of a note. So if you wanted to go down from the, yeah. And if we all stay on that sort of 5th fret area, like around the F pentatonic, then it becomes yeah, I can see, Phoebe, that you're doing that sort of... Does that make sense? So that's vibrato, tremolo, bending. So vibrato, tremolo are the same thing. Bend, slide in or slide out. And then similar to slides is the hammer. And this is actually, I probably should have stuck down here on the C, because see now here let's do it up here on the 5th fret again, but it takes a lot more strength to do it from the 1st to the 3rd finger. And you can imagine what it must be like to do getting the precision from the 1st to the 4th finger. It's going to be hard. Just try that. Okay, can I get... I've progressively muted you all. So because you got so annoying, Pip. Do you want to unmute again, and so I can just hear how you're going with that hammer on? Yeah, go, Phoebe. Yeah, no, hold. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, and see, Phoebe, you're hammering on, but then you're pulling off as well. So one of those going upwards is a hammer on, and then it's called a hammer off, but most people call it a pull off.
Sorry.
Geez, how old are you?
About 12. A 12-year-old boy.
Trish, do you want to?
I didn't quite catch what we were doing. Sorry. Can
So
you
I'm talking about hammer-ons there.
Yeah.
So you put your finger on, and then literally you hammer on with another finger. So instead of picking with this, you watch. I'm only picking once with my thumb, and then I'm getting 2 notes out of it. I call it 2 notes for the price of 1.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So that's another element of feel. Yeah, that's quite loud. That's good.
All right.
Oh, we're all back.
Not quite.
Almost.
Are we all back? Almost.
I don't
So
see
John,
Jane yet.
was that about slides and hammer-ons and things like that? Is that what you would?
I talked partly about that. I had a couple of other things that I mentioned as well, but yeah, slides and hammer-ons were a key thing. But I basically gave an overview and said we're going to do more on it next week.
Yeah, good.
So that I had time to talk about other stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Is that everybody? I think that's just about everybody.
You got 5 minutes, John, roughly.
Perfect. Well, let's have a really quick look at the circle of fifths, everybody. So if you could pull that out. I just want to go over some of the key features of it so that you can actually use it as a tool rather than just a weird shape that sits at the front of your music book and is never looked at. I got to pull up a copy of it for myself. Okay. So first of all, it's called the circle of fifths because each of these notes is a fifth away from the other. What I mean by that is that if you count up the scale, e.g. In C major, if you start at C, you go C, D, E, F, G, and G is the fifth note of C. And then if you count up the G scale, you go G, A, B, C, D, and D is the fifth note, and then D, E, F sharp, G, A, and so on and so forth, all the way around until it gets back to C. If you go in the other direction, it's called the circle of fourths, because backwards, it's going in fourths instead. C, D, E, F, F, G, A, B flat, B flat, C, D, E flat, so on and so forth. So the reason this is super useful to you, as I was saying before, it's a great thing for helping you see how things are related, because each little set of 3 right next to each other basically tells you all the important chords in any given key. So if we look at C is right there in the middle. We that's like the central. We call that the tonic. It's the tonic note because we're in that key. Then always to the right of it is going to be the fifth of that key, in this case G, and always to the left is going to be the fourth, which is F. And the first and the fifth and the fourth are the most important chords in major songs because they're the ones that you almost always hear together. It's almost always the way. That you won't always hear them in like a particular order, but in pretty much every song, you have them somewhere. The other really useful thing is that down the bottom in that little group of 3, you have in the like closer to that central circle, you have minor chords, and each of these minor chords are also part of the key of C. So you've got C, which is the 1, and then underneath F is D minor, which is the 2. Underneath G is E minor, which is the 3. Then F is 4, G is 5. Underneath C is A minor, which is the 6. And then the 7 is B diminished, which we don't talk about. But you can see how...
Run through
Oh, yeah,
those
sorry,
again.
Vanessa.
Just run through those again.
Yeah, of course.
D minor was the
Yeah, so C is 1, D minor is 2, E minor is 3, F is 4, G is 5, A minor is 6.
Can
And
I
you can just count it up by going C, D minor, E minor, F. Like, it's just alphabetical.
you've got this thing here. Is that the right way around for you? Ukulele, major scales, and chords. So that's John. You've been talking to the circle of fifths, haven't you?
I have, yes.
But this is a linear, like this is a straight line representation of that, and you can see what John's been speaking about in the key of C, where it goes the 1, 2, and note that the smaller that you've got lowercase Roman numerals to indicate all this sort of stuff. I think that we might be better off going to that sort of stuff next week, John. Like,
I would like to finish this little bit of it and then finish up, if that's okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, in that little group of 3 is all the chords that will tell you what key a song's in. If a song includes those chords, then you can be pretty sure that it's in that certain key. And that is movable all around the circle. You can pick any of those notes to be your tonic, and then you can pick the one to the left and one to the right, and all those minor chords. E.g., you could do it with F sharp on the very opposite end. So you look at that, F sharp is your 1, then B is your 4, and C sharp is your 5. A flat minor is your 2, B flat minor is your 3. Like, you're very rarely going to play an F sharp minor, but if ever you need to, or if you're trying to recognize that something is in F sharp major rather, sorry, then that's sort of a way to do it. Thank you, Vanessa. Good point. And really quick, actually, no, I'm not going to worry about that right now because it'll be a longer discussion that we don't need. But that's generally what makes the circle of fifths really useful. It shows you relationships between chords and can help you figure out keys so that you know which scale to use when you solo. Are there any questions? Awesome.
We have
Looks like everyone's
homework.
pretty much all right. We do indeed have homework. So yeah, if no one's got any questions or comments, we'll jump straight onto what I want you guys to do over the week. Let me just pull it up so that I know what it is. Okay. So the homework for the first week is I want you to record yourself playing a solo over a diatonic song in a major key. So that could be any of the ones we've just done. So that's oh god, what have we done? We did Melancholy Hill. We did I think I'll go out to Alberta. Weather's good there in the fall. Can't remember what it's called right now for some reason.
Or Strong Wind.
Thank you for Strong Winds. And then we also did Pokari Kariana. You can also look online, maybe test your abilities, and see if you can find a song that's diatonic. And remember that if it uses chords that aren't in that little circle of fifths group, then it's probably not diatonic. And even though these songs we've just done aren't completely diatonic, if you can solo in it in a diatonic way, that's probably the most important thing. Like, I don't care necessarily that there's the weird B flat minor 7 or the weird F at the end, because that doesn't affect your soloing.
There's also... Yeah, I'll just remind that Jane has also put up, if you look on the repertoire list, underneath it, it's got the diatonic songs backing tracks for practice. You could use those as well. And doo-wop means, so doo-wop songs are do 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 do, yeah. Yeah.
all that stuff.
Do up, do up. They're also called ice cream chords, so they're there as well for you to use. I would also encourage you to utilize the community in the Facebook group. If you have questions about it, about it could be really nerdy questions. Ask in there and see if somebody else will answer, because there's probably about 80 people in there who may chip in with an opinion about a question.
We're about to break 100 members on that, I think.
Oh, okay, cool. So
Yeah, so
Already
there's
have.
lots of people.
Oh.
There you go. So yeah, feel free to use any of our backing tracks or.
Are they all vaccinated or?
Oh God, what have we done?
Erica, you got a question?
Yeah, so when with the recording, are you wanting the whole song or just enough so that there's at least one chorus and one verse, or what? How long are you wanting it?
If we can have at least a minute, I suppose that's probably the least I'd want from you, and then maybe try and keep it shorter than 2 minutes as well. Just most of the songs we have are only about 1 to 2 minute snippets of the song anyway, so you probably won't have to go too much. And when they're too long, I get bored halfway through when we're marking them. So yeah, if you can do that homework, post it to the group, and we'll mark it before next session, and then we'll have a discussion about it at the start of the next session as well.
There's no marking as such, John, is there? Like it's we'll give.
I give feedback is what I mean. I don't give you like a score out of 10.
But it still sounds a little bit like public shaming if it's on the Facebook group.
That's right.
Ruth, there is only 100 people on there to judge you. Don't.
That's right. And
we have an Improv One Facebook group.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear a mask so nobody knows me.
I actually wonder. Look, Jane and John and I will talk about that. It actually.
No.
Oh, Jane's going, no way.
No, because it's inspiring seeing other people.
Well, you can be a member of both. Anyhow, look, we'll talk about that. We'll bat that around.
I just really enjoyed watching all the Improv 3 people, and I'm like, I want to do that. So I liked having all of them in there.
Thank you. Yeah, it was good.
That's awesome. Yeah.
They were us once too. They had to do Improv 1 to get to Improv 3.
Phoebe, you're outnumbered completely.
And seriously,
really
are they really going to be bothered?
Yeah,
watching
no.
it? I don't think
Will never did Improv 1.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no way Will ever did Improv 1. Let's face it.
I've been having anxiety all day about when I saw those people playing on that Facebook.
See you, Lee.
Absolutely no way.
Gonna go to.
I'm posting on that.
Yes, if you're heading off, see you later, everybody.
Thank
you very much for
Thank
coming.
you.
I hope you got a lot out of it. And yeah, look, if you feel comfortable posting homework, please do. If it becomes too much, like I get that as well.
You can post it privately.
That's right. You can always email it to us or something. But I mean, it's preferable to go on the Facebook group. It makes it easier for us, and then you get a lot of people, especially Craig O'Brien, coming and saying, "Wow, nice job." He always likes to comment and tell everyone how good they're doing.
Is there any way to cheat?
Well, I think we'll know if you play Van Halen over the top of you going boom, boom,
Bye everyone. Good much.
Good on you. Thanks,
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Erica.
What? Okay, Susie, I will ask you about that in a second.
Go,
Yeah,
Erica.
we'll check that out.
Don't go anywhere, Susie.
Lovely.
Yeah. Who was that?
Pip.
Pip.
A couple of weekends ago when we did slidey stuff, I chose the wrong instrument to do slideys with, and my strings are like really rough now. Is that like, they're not going to die on me, are they?
Well, they might. You should probably replace them.
I can't do that. Are you crazy? Is Muso's Corner open?
No.
I tell you what, Pip,
It'll be
you should
alright.
you should look up if you want to replace them. Just look up YouTube videos.
I'm
it's
sure.
so easy.
But
it's
I don't have
really
the strings
easy.
either. All right then. Okay. I'll
True, you do
look
need the
out.
strings. That's an important.
Not
That's
huge.
an important
It
aspect.
feels. Okay. All right. Thank you. And I won't do sliding again. Bye.
John, can I ask you a question? It's not about the course. It's about I couldn't sync my headphones,
Oh, okay.
and I can sync them for other stuff, but I couldn't sync them for Zoom. And I'm just wondering, is there anything special I need to know for them to get the sounds?
Are they Bluetooth headphones?
Yeah.
It might be because it might be down in the if you click on the audio settings button, there's a select a speaker.
Is this in Zoom?
This is in Zoom, yeah. So if you go down to where it says mute and then click on the little arrow,
oh yeah,
it might be that in the select a
Nothing
speaker
there.
section, you need to select your headphones.
Okay.
I'll
play around. Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Trish.
mess
Yeah,
around with it and see, because
Thanks.
that was my best guess.
Okay. Thank you.
Susie, what were you holding up? What was wrong?
Oh, you'll have to unmute Susie.
Unmute one of yourselves, Susie. I'm not sure which one you want to unmute. You've got both going.
I'll go. See ya. Thanks
See
a
ya,
lot,
Trish.
See
guys.
you, Trish.
Bye.
Thanks, Trish.
I tried to join the Facebook page to do the homework, and it says the page isn't available at the moment.
Okay, it's people have been joining, so that might
Yeah,
be
it might be we still need to let you in or something.
no might be a problem of yours. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going there now.
Oh, Jane's going to have a look now. So yeah, it should be right, Susie. I don't know where that's. Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Oh, hang on, and I'll get rid of the recording.